Good day, ladies and gents. Today we're doing our second installation in our series on how to evaluate used Rolex watches using the Paul Thorpe method outlined in his recent video entitled How to Properly Evaluate the Condition of a Used Rolex Watch. For those of you who haven't seen it, please look for the link down below and watch Paul's video before watching this one. For those of you who don't know Paul, he is a retired used watch dealer who's based in England, and he's made a considerable amount of videos now giving us some very useful information on how to navigate the markets as we look for used watches, whether you're looking online or you're shopping at a watch dealer, which is something that I'd recommend. Personally, I find that's the best way to do it. So that you're able to know what you're getting into, what you might be able to use as negotiating tools when you are going to try and arrive at a price when you buy the watch. And what to look for so that you can know if maybe you shouldn't buy a watch. All right. Now, in the last video, we had used, as Paul has told us, the very most important thing, the thing that you need, the tool that you need to be equipped in order to do this evaluation is you must have a loop. So I had expressed my fondness for the Bergeon 4721 contained and telescoping loop, okay? But today I'm going to introduce you to another one just so we can add a little bit to the video. So another one that we can use here, which is another favorite of mine, is the 4422, okay? This is a top quality tool. This one here, although they come in different strengths, as do the jeweler's loops that Paul was using inside of his videos. All right, these do as well. Now this particular one is 2.5 times. I'm going to show you how to properly use the loop. So when you use the loop, you're going to want to put the loop up to your eye. You're not going to want to hold it at a distance. If you hold it at a distance between you and the watch, first of all, if you pick it up and you start looking at it at a distance, you misuse the loop. Well, first of all, it's not going to do you any good, and second of all, everybody around you is going to realize that you've got no idea what you're doing. You have no experience with examining watches or with watches in general, because anybody who does have any real experience in evaluating any kind of condition or looking at watch parts knows that you must have a loop to do this. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to pick up the watch. I'm going to introduce the watch to you in a minute. The watch we're using today is a Sea Dweller. You're going to take the loop and you're going to put the loop to your eye, and then you're going to bring the watch up until it's in focus, and you can examine all of the parts of the watch up close. Okay? So that's how you're going to want to use your loop. Before we get going, actually, I'm going to do my wristwatch check. Now, the wristwatch check was invented by Paul Pluta, aka Archie Luxury. Today I'm wearing a Tudor Black Bay. All right, this is the Black Bay that was introduced in 2016. It has a MT5602 movement inside that runs at 28,800 vibrations per hour. It's COSC certified and has 70 hours of power reserve. All right, I really like this watch. It has served me well. Very comfortable. Very nice to wear, nice to use, whether you got it on the bracelet or you got it on one of the nice NATO straps that come with it. All right, now we're going to get to the watch at hand. Today we're going to be examining a Rolex Sea Dweller model 116600, otherwise known as the SD4K or the SD4K ceramic, any of those. So what happened is, in 2008, Rolex discontinued the Sea Dweller, the very, very famous Sea Dweller. A lot of people were quite surprised. They introduced the Deep Sea, which was very, very large, very, very bulky, a little bit top heavy, and a little bit of overkill. A lot of people were disappointed that the Sea Dweller was gone, but they reintroduced the Sea Dweller again in 2014. They reintroduced it as this model here. Okay. Now this is the first Sea Dweller to have a ceramic bezel insert, and they kept to the regular size on this one. They kept to a 40 millimeter size, so it was quite similar actually to the former Sea Dweller. It was just bulked out a little bit. It was given a very nice bracelet, and it was given a very nice clasp and everything like that. But unfortunately, they only kept the model running for about almost 3 years. I guess it was introduced and then it went, I think it was about 35 months, and they discontinued it again in 2017. And that was a big surprise, because they left us once again with no regular Sea Dweller until the newer, larger one was slightly larger one was introduced with red text a little bit later on, a few years later. So as we say, this was discontinued actually after a fairly short run, making it one of the shortest run Rolex watches in history. Right. So as you can imagine, the price on these has been going up quite a bit. So first of all, it's going to be a little bit difficult to find one. So if you're looking for one, it's you're gonna have a hard time. And if you find one, you're going to want to make sure that it's one that hopefully you're going to keep and you're going to wear. I hope you're not buying it just because you think the price is going to go up some more. So look for one that's in good condition, and try to get the best price that you can, because these have gone up considerably. I mean, I know that before they were discontinued, I mean, they were not very popular, and I remember seeing them in shop windows here for about 58,000 Hong Kong dollars, and now they're going for anywhere upwards of 100 to 110,000. So you can see that the value, well, not the value, but the price is about to double, right? It's about to eclipse double. Okay, so you want this watch and you've been looking for it. You've been running all around town like a blue-ass fly trying to find one of these. You've been checking all the shop windows. You are on the pavements walking down the street, and you see this one stood inside the shop window. You think, wow. You look at it, the price is not too bad, but you're hoping that maybe you can negotiate a little bit. You see that it's used, but that it's got on the little sign, on the little ticket, it tells you that it's got the papers. You can see that this one was originally sold in Saudi Arabia. Okay, but now it's here. You can see that it had all of the bits, so it had the hang tags, and it's got extra links, and it's even got the extra extension. Okay, so you decide to go in and you're going to go check this out. You're going to try and negotiate with the watch dealer. Now I'm going to try to tell you how you're going to examine this particular exact watch and what you might think that you might be able to try and use as bargaining tools, as negotiating tools with the watch dealer. Now, reputation is everything with these guys, so please only use only frequent watch dealers that you know are reliable. If you've heard they've been caught selling watches with any kind of fake bits or anything shifty or dodgy like that, then please make sure that you're going to avoid these dealers, because it's not worth the heartache later. As we said, you're spending a hell of a lot of money on some of these watches. So for some people, they save up for years. For some people, it's nothing, but for some people, they save up for years, and you really don't want to wind up with a watch that's going to give you heartache later on. So you're going to go inside, you're going to deal with the watch dealer, you're going to try and negotiate with him. So we're going to look at this exact watch. This watch, we're going to use this watch is the watch that you're going to be wanting to buy. So you're going to go in and you're going to try to evaluate the condition of this watch to see what kind of bargaining tools you may be able to use to try and get a little bit of the price knocked down on this watch. It's possible that you might not get a whole heck of a lot, and in fact you hope that that the watch is not in terrible condition, because then you might not want to bring it in. So first of all, picking up the watch, you're going to make sure that when you pick up the watch, you're going to take the watch and you're going to put it around your hand. Okay, now the reason for this is because you don't want to have the clasp banging up against the case back while you're looking at the watch, okay? Because it's potentially going to ruin the watch that you want to bring home, or it's going to leave that watch dealer with the watch in his case that's got some extra scratches that you put on it, and that means that your reputation or your relationship with that watch dealer is probably not going to be fantastic in the future, right? He might, in fact, if you do that, if you bang it up against the back, he might just tell you to go swivel on it right away and hit the road. So hold the watch properly, take your loop up to your eye, okay, and then you're going to bring the watch in. I'm checking the dial. I'm checking if there's any scratches on the dial. I'm checking if there's any scratches or any dings or anything on the markers. I'm checking the hands. I'm checking to see if there's any kind of scratches on these. I'm giving it a good cursory once over just to see if there's anything untoward. Does the bezel insert look correct? Are all the finishes correct? This is your first look over, because you're always going to do 2 looks over the watch. You're going to do one more a little bit later on in the examination. Okay, so I've looked over this, nothing looks untoward. So far this is a watch that I want to keep going on. I want to keep talking to this guy about the watch. So what I'm going to do, as Paul says, and as is absolutely necessary, you're going to feel over every surface of this watch with your hands. You're going to use your tactile senses here, right? While I'm doing this, in fact, I'm not going to really look at the watch. I'm feeling if there's any wrong screws, any protruding screws, any big nicks. Is there any big scratches? Is there anything? Is the bezel feeling sharp? I'm going to run my finger or my thumb print all the way around the glass, the edge of the glass, because if the glass needs replacing, you can use that as a negotiating tool, right? And if there's anything wrong with the glass, then Rolex is going to automatically change that on you, and that's going to be an additional cost if you end up sending it in for a service. So you might want to know what a glass replacement costs, and if the glass has any kind of scratch on it, then you're going to be able to tell the watch dealer, hey, I mean, would you be willing to deduct the price of the glass replacement, because I don't really like the idea of wearing a watch that's got a scratch like that on the glass. But if I ask you to send it in, it's going to take up your time, and of course you're going to have to pay for it. And you know, why don't we just knock the price of the glass replacement off that? Is that all right? All right. So that's one bargaining tool you might be able to use. Now this one doesn't have any scratches on the glass, so I can't use that. All right. So I felt all around this, and what I noticed on this particular watch right here is that it's got a few little nicks, okay? And I can feel a few little scratches. So I can see that, you know, nothing big, but it's got a few actual nicks in the edge of the bracelet. It's got a little bit of what I'd call normal wear, okay, but it's got no very large nicks or bumps or anything like that. All right, so it's in fairly good condition. So after looking over this, what I've noticed with this particular piece is that I've got a few nicks, got a few small nicks on the lugs, all right, which is normal for a used watch, right? And I've got some scuffs and such on the bracelet. What I would consider to be really just normal signs, what I would just consider to be normal signs of wear. All right, trying to get a look at that. All right, so nothing serious at all. Nothing serious, no big nicks or anything. I might say that there's a few little marks here. But what that tells me, but actually I like that, okay? Because what that means to me is that the watch hasn't been done, it hasn't been unprofessionally brushed or polished. All right, so that tells me that this watch dealer, I'm asking him now. So I guess this is the condition you got it in, right? I mean, it looks like you haven't refinished it or anything like that, and I guess you wait for his answer. In this case, I would say that he hasn't, but that's good. Some watch dealers will really try to make the watch look as good as possible before selling it. Some watch dealers will want to leave the watch in the exact condition that they got it in. Some watch dealers will want to send the watch in to Rolex, to the service center, before sending it back to you, just so that you get that paper, you get that reassurance, sort of like a little report card to see that the watch has been checked by Rolex themselves and that they've done any refinishing that was necessary and not someone else who was a little bit unprofessional. So far, we're looking good. Next, we know that this watch is supposed to have a 120 click bezel. All right, so we're going to give it a turn all the way around, and we're going to make sure that it has all 120 clicks. We're going to check the crown. See, as Paul says, check all the functions. So we're now checking the crown. All right. We're going to open it up. We're going to see that the gasket is present on the outside of the tube. We can see that little black line there. It's present. We're going to feel, how does it feel when you screw it in? Does it have lots of turns, or are the threads all worn? In this case, it's got lots of turns. That's fantastic. We're going to check the function of the clasp. So the flip lock is good. It opens nicely. Now on these newer watches, they've got really great, really solid clasps, so it's going to be very rare that there's anything wrong with this. We're going to check the dive extension. This one has a sort of a glide lock. Okay, so it opens and then it glides to give you fine adjustment. It's got teeth under there, glides. We can say that that's working fine. Closes, closes. That's very good. We're going to check now that the date change is good. So you're going to open to the first position. All right. You're going to open to the second position. And you're going to you're going to move forward. Okay? Until you feel a date change. Never pick up the watch and just start clicking the date change, because if it's in the middle of the process of the date changing and you wind it backwards, you might damage the date function right then and there. All right, so, oh, I just heard it click over at 12 o'clock. So that means it's working well as it passes midnight. We're going to get it well past midnight, and we're going to see that the hands line up. The minute hand lines up with when the hour hand is at an hour marker, the minute hand is also lining up directly at 12 o'clock. Okay, that's something else you want to check. And then you're going to want to push the crown back in. You're 6 hours past midnight, and now you can cycle. You're going to cycle your date all the way through. Okay, all the way through the month, just to see that every one of the numbers clicks over. All right, the next thing, this particular watch here, it has the card. Okay, now you're going to want to check that the serial number and the watch match for these watches. Okay, the serial number is going to be on this card here, and you check on the watch, it's located inside of what they call the rého, okay, le rého en français. Okay, so we're going to put the loop up to our eye. We're going to bring it up and we're going to check that that serial number is the same one that's on the card. Yes, it is, so that's the correct card to go with it. Now, with this particular model, there's also a piece of that dive extension. There's a piece of that diver's extension that actually it's relatively uncomfortable and it's very unnecessary, and it sort of protrudes if you wear the watch on a normal day-to-day basis with this piece on. So most people will opt to take it off. All right, so what this is for people who are really using it diving. They're using it with suits and they need that extra piece of extension, and you're going to check for it. It looks like this. All right, so make sure that that's there. If that's not there, that's a piece of the watch. That's a piece of that's not just a regular link, like it's got less links. That's a piece of the functionality of that dive watch. And if that piece is missing, well, that's a negotiating tool. Find out what that piece costs and negotiate the price of replacing that off of what you're being offered to start with. Do you have the extra links? In this case, there are 2 extra links. Know how many links the bracelet is supposed to have in advance, and then check whether the extra links that have been removed are still present. Now, often watch dealers will hold back links, they'll keep links because then they can give them to people with bigger wrists later on. So if you know how many links are there, maybe you can use that as a bit of a bargaining tool. If you had no idea how many links are supposed to be on the watch that you're buying, then you're not gonna be able to negotiate that. With this particular watch, you've also got the hang tags. The only thing that isn't present here is the box. Now for me, I'd rather not even have the box, to be quite honest with you, because I'm living in a flat and I don't have a lot of space, and that's quite often why the boxes are missing. I know a lot of people will say, "Oh my God, why would you buy a Rolex watch and then why would you get rid of the box?" Well, truth is, a lot of people don't have a lot of space inside their domicile, right? They don't have space to keep all these boxes if they have a watch collection, right? So if I was buying a watch, or if I'm buying a watch, I would ask the authorized dealer to please hold back the box, and if they can, please supply me with one of these small transportation, what they call them a coffin, but it's like a little clear hard box with foam inside, and it fits all the paper and the tags and all the card and everything like that, but then you don't have to store a whole bunch of these boxes in your house. So the box is useless. Don't worry about the box. It's not a negotiating tool. The watch dealer is not going to talk to you about removing anything off the price or change anything for you based on that being missing. All right, so after that's all done, you're going to want to take the loop one more time. Go over the watch. Make sure that everything is okay. Make sure that there's no dust under there, because that means that a careless watchmaker's been in there and he's left some dirt. He should have made sure that there's no dust or dirt. Make sure there's no scrapes on the hands. We're going to hold the loop to our eye and we're going to bring in the watch and we examine it. We bring it into focus as we look at it. Okay? Run your loop over every part. Check it all out. Make sure that everything is cool. Make sure that you got the correct screws, that they don't have improper slots, or that the screws are worn. And that's about it. So this particular watch, I would be very happy to buy this watch. Okay, I'd be happy to buy this and to bring it home and wear it. It's a this is a great example of this watch. It's got a few scratches, so it's not in absolute mint condition, but it is in very good condition, okay? It's in very good condition. A little bit tight there, but it's got the glide lock, and that's what that's for. So we'll open it up in a little bit. perfect. Now on these, one thing that I left out here is checking for band stretch. This watch is only a few years old and it's got all completely solid links. So as you would normally check for band stretch, you know, you got your thumb at 9 o'clock, you put your fingers around the crown, you hold the bracelet out, let go, see if it sags. It doesn't. Okay, you're gonna check both sides like that. That's mainly applying to older vintage watches, not to watches that are only a few years old. Now, if you're with me so far, that's really good. I just thought I'd add one more little thing to this video, and then we're about done. All right. So, the only negotiating tools that I found with that particular watch are the small nicks, the very small nicks, and the little bit of wear on the clasp. Other than that, the watch is in absolutely perfect shape, you know. And it's got all of the bits, all the pieces. All right. Now, what do I use to adjust my bracelet? Because don't adjust the bracelet on your own if you're not experienced, okay? Because you might damage the heck out of it. And it's expensive, okay, to replace links and the screws not so much. But if you don't live in a city that's got a service center, well, then it might take you some time, and you might be unable to even wear your bracelet while you're waiting for the pieces of that. But what I use, these are my favorite screwdrivers right here. Okay, these are professional Bergeon screwdrivers, the $68.99 set. Right? Consists of a full set here. You've got extra blades. You've got your sizes here. Alright, so that's what I would use. But in addition, using the screwdriver as it comes alone is not sufficient either. You're going to need to fine-tune that tip, all right, so that it's not going, the tip's not going to shear off at all, and it's not going to shear, you know, to damage your screws and strip the little slots and shear off metal. You're going to have to actually sharpen down, like to grind down that screwdriver so that you get the correct fit. Now there also is an exact Rolex tool, I believe, that they use that's got a grooved type of screwdriver, like a rectangular type end, and that's what they will use to change the bend. But you can sort of you can improvise. You can improvise, and you can make that tool on your own using a type of a sharpener by Artec. Maybe I'll show that one in a future video. I'm going to remind you before we finish that these watches, I'm going to remind you again, these watches are not for sale. These watches are not available to purchase anywhere. I'm not going to recommend any watch dealer where you can get them. So please don't contact me asking to buy these watches. These watches are lent to the company so that I can do these shows, and I'm not spruiking them, I'm not selling them. Okay, so please do not contact me about those if possible. If you have any questions, then of course please feel free to leave them below. Leave any comments, leave any nice comments, leave nasty comments if you like, whatever you want. And if you like the videos, please press like, please subscribe, please check us out also on Instagram. You can check us out on Instagram at Real DAGAZ Watch. Alright, and I do believe that's all. So thanks very much for watching. I hope that you learned something. If you want any more of these videos, then I'll be happy to do as many as people would like to watch. Thanks a lot. Bye for now. See you in the next one, guys.